What's up, world? This is Maxwell 3000 Productions. I am Maxwell 3000. I want to welcome you back to Family Talk with my pops, Wayne Carter. How are you, pops? How you getting along?
Doing well, enjoying staying warm and out of the cold. We've had a couple inches of snow over here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am thankful for the power and for not losing the power during the little storm, for sure. Um, Well, get us right back into our conversation. The last time we talked, we were in transition from Biloxi, Mississippi, where you were stationed to receive your job training as an air traffic controller. And you were telling me how that was and kind of about that how that experience was, which was kind of a brief experience. And then we're in the transition to where your regular station was going to be um, in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Tell me a little bit more about, and we might have covered this again, but tell me about that transition of ending up your school in Biloxi and what the transition was like to your regular post.
Well, yeah, we sort of mentioned, leaving uh, Biloxi and then getting, probably had a week or so off to spend with some family in Middle Tennessee before your mother and I went to Fayetteville. Uh, but we lived for a couple of years in a duplex. Uh, And we were really fortunate to have a lady that lived in the other part of the duplex, middle-aged lady, older lady, very nice, single person, just had a great neighbor. And, just she needed anything, she knew we were there and vice versa. Uh, I remember we lived, it was like 2 blocks from, I guess it's the main road that went back in toward Fort Bragg from Fayetteville. I can't remember the name of that road or highway, but on the corner was a gas station that it had uh, mechanics and the like a gas station used to be, all the services and stuff.
Full
And
service.
yeah, that guy got to be a really good friend of mine. And so if I needed any maintenance stuff on a vehicle or credit for gas, he was good. Mr. McLeod, I remember his name was McLeod. But just we were very, very fortunate to have good relationships with folks. Uh,
Community.
your mother uh, ended up getting a job working with I think in North Carolina it's called the Department of Children's Services, but she was a social worker with them and did uh, volunteer coordinator was her position, I think. And you may check with her on that, uh, but anyway, she had a lot of activity or influence working in the community and just met some great, good people as a result of those associations. We started going to a little Baptist church, Bonnie Doon Baptist Church, I remember was the name, and just good people. Got working with the youth. Your mother and I both did working with the young people, and uh, it was in my mind a very good experience.
Okay, and so just from my understanding, because I recall you mentioning because you already had a couple of years at college that you got your associates. Where did you get your associates at?
It's Golden Gate University out of San Francisco, and the reason it was them, Golden Gate had an agreement or contract or something with the United States Air Force, where they had satellite campuses at a number of Air Force bases, and they had one there at Pope Air Force Base, is where I was, and so I was able to get my associates within a semester.
Okay, okay. So what was your Lord? What was your grade? What were you what was your position? in the military at
Okay.
that point?
Well, as a in the Air Force, I was a airman first class, which is an enlisted guy. Uh, Ended up enlisted ranks go from E1 to E9, E1 being the lower, E9 being the higher. I would have been an E2 and an E3, very
Okay.
low man on the totem pole.
All right. Is that pretty standard for guys coming out? What would an E1 be then?
An airman basic, yeah, that's what you are to be start out with, and then uh, as time goes on, if you don't get in trouble, you'll get promoted as time goes.
Was it? Did you get promoted after your schooling?
Pretty sure, yeah, and I may have actually made it to E2 at that point. I
Okay.
think when I got out of the Air Force, I may have been an E4 when I got out of the Air Force. Then I went into the Army after that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I never. I mean, I didn't. I was the working guy. I was the
Yeah.
guy that
Yeah.
did the work. Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear on that. I think that's important to know. And so also this duplex, is that where did y'all move straight into that duplex when y'all came to North Carolina? And was that in Fayetteville proper or a suburb or bedroom community?
It was in Fayetteville. I'm pretty sure it was in Fayetteville city limits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, And how was that? Did you have to get any special permission to do that? Like you said, you needed that in Biloxi, or what was that move like as far as dealing with the military in the move and with your wife, your young family?
Yeah, it was not a problem at all because once I had that permission and gotten married, uh, that was
It
expected.
followed you.
Yeah,
Okay, cool, cool, cool.
and there are times when you would have a duty station that was called unaccompanied, where you had to go where you couldn't take your family. This was not one of them.
Okay, okay, all right. And so you are an air traffic controller, and you mentioned that was a really good gig because of the regulations regarding the safety and those procedures. Um, and you moved over there the end of 1974, beginning of 1975. What was the acclimation to the job like? Yeah, I know you said there was a period where you were maybe you shadowed somebody and then you were shadowed very closely. Tell me about that process, the onboarding process, I guess you may say.
Yeah, they had the on the job training part. Well, once you have your schooling and all that, then you go under a period of on the job training where you are supervised very closely. And I don't remember how long that was, but I'll have to say again, and you hear me say this over and over again, but it's just true. I have been very blessed to be with folks or have folks generally that have been really good people, and my supervisors and the people that I work with, uh, just good folks. One the main supervisor that I remember was a guy named Dallas Knowles. Uh, Master, and just worked with me. Was the supervisor. He was the guy that allowed me to go to college, uh, to go to Methodist University after I got my associates, and to work with me as far as my scheduling and stuff like. Just again, very blessed, very lucky.
Okay. And so, what was that early schedule like? Was it 9 to 5 or swing shift? What?
Well, where our shift work was, um, you work 2 days, and the day shift would be like from 8 to 4. Then you'd be off for either 24 or 48, maybe it's 48 hours, and then you'd come in and work 2 swing shifts. Would be like from 4 in the afternoon till sometime early in the morning. 8 hours, whatever an 8 hour shift
11,
was.
12.
Yeah, and then you would be off 72 hours and have to work two or three mid shifts, which was midnight to 8, I guess.
Yeah.
And looking back at it, the reason that was tough is your body never got used to a sleep schedule. It was
Yeah.
also always rotating. I know law enforcement, talks about, they're generally on a particular schedule for 6 months, and so, I mean, I didn't make the rules, but that seems a lot more reasonable than just every few days you're changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it worked out good for my school. Whenever I started, after I was there for a while, they let me go to university, and and we weren't as busy at night. And so particularly those night shifts, from 4 in the afternoon till midnight, uh, if we weren't that busy, I could be studying because I'm sitting there in front of a radar screen, waiting for things or hearing something happen or something comes over the radio, and so, but you could have a book there to be able to study when you weren't engaged, and so uh, probably had I not been going to school, I'd been bored stiff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when did you decide to do the Golden Gate thing? Was something that was presented on base, or did you have a supervisor encourage you to do that, or anything like that?
All the above. There was something on base, and when you got there, you get an indoctrination of what all's on base and what doing, and my supervisors, uh, the Air Force in particular, I think the military in general, but at that time the Air Force really did push getting education. That was a big deal, and particularly if you got on up into the ranks of like E6 and E7, um, you're probably going to have an associate, if not a bachelor, to get promoted. And the idea of becoming an officer never occurred to me at this point in life. A few years later on, it did, but so they encouraged the people to go get their education.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that it was always your plan to go back to academia at some point, anyways, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, okay. So you got your associates, and while you were working, um, tell me about the transition to what Methodist College, I believe it was. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was college at the time. It's now university, but yeah, it was Methodist College, and it was just another one of those things that became. And I don't know if the Army was doing it. The Army may have been involved in it too, but I know the Air Force had developed a relationship with Methodist University, which was just 10 minutes away from where we were staying and 10 minutes away from base. So it was just a good thing, and they were developing a relationship, wanting the military to be involved in the university, veterans. It was that sort of idea was beginning to flourish, I think, in the academic community, and so that somehow that became I became aware of that, and so I went to my supervisors again, and they were absolutely encouraging me to do it. So
Okay. And so when you went back, what did you declare as your major? Did you have any idea of what you wanted to do with a higher education degree at that point?
no, and at Golden Gate, the major area of studies was business, and I took statistics courses and all those kind of classes, so it was a business. But when I went to Methodist, was the first time I started really getting interested in the political science, and took. I had some political science courses at MTSU, but they were just kind of general stuff, and so I decided to go in that direction. And the guy that was my advisor at the university was a guy named Dr. John Tobler. Uh, for some reason, he and I just hit it off real well. He was an older gentleman. He was probably in his 60s at that point, maybe even 70s. And he, in my mind, he just really liked me. And so we talked and met, and he's probably the guy that encouraged me more than anybody else to go to law school.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, so what do you think? Do you remember a moment that you became more aware of maybe the political atmosphere or what led you into political science? What happened or what was the development of that?
Some of the coursework got me. I remember taking a course in comparative governments where you were, studying the government of the Russian government, the parliamentary government, the German government, and compared it. I thought I'd never given that a lot of thought, and then I think one of the things that you get out of that, at least I got out of it, was whenever there is an issue, you really need to look at a conclusion from the other guy's point of view, not just my point of view, because they're looking at it from a whole different background, a whole different culture, a whole different structure of government than I was. So those kind of thoughts with the junior and senior courses in political science were really, uh, and I think it helped in law school with the idea, particularly in criminal law, which is what I ended up doing all my career, is looking at the facts from different angles, and not just the facts that support my theory, but what's the facts that's going to support the opposing guy's theory, and how do you address those? So I think political science and the study of law go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common as well in other people's trajectory. But I'm interested in how that transition from business to political science occurred. Do you think, when you were doing the business path, it was just you weren't really clear on maybe where yourself and what you really were interested in, and maybe through that process you were exposed to more of the world or to different ideas through the university, MTSU, and through your experience in the military, and kind of maybe all that came together in going back to school?
Yeah, I mean, the business thing was, at least in my mind, that was a declaration of a major because I couldn't think anything else to do. Just kind of that's just one catch all. And then it caught, and I told you this, and I tell a lot of people this, that I am an advocate of a Bachelor of Arts because I think that is what allows people to see different things and be exposed to things they would not be exposed to, and to open up the idea of thought.
And you think that really helped you in that way, that caused your worldview maybe to broaden, and you maybe were seeking more of that in the political science discipline?
No, no doubt, no
Uh,
doubt. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Do you think that maybe just that little bit of travel from just living in Biloxi? I mean, Biloxi, Mississippi is different from Smyrna. You know, it's different. It's different from Nashville. And then maybe even going to Fayetteville, just that little bit of travel experience helped that, or provided even more fuel to the flame.
Well, both. I think it helped in in the military. You meet a diversity of people. Whereas when you're being brought up in rural Tennessee, you have those people that are, great people, but the same culture, the same type that you are. Basic training, and particularly uh, when you got to your main duty station, you have a little more freedom to intermingle and talk to people and see people from San Antonio, Texas, to Los Angeles, California, to New York City, that were different cultures, and begin to see that they look at things a little bit differently. Obviously, got a lot bigger when I'm going to Europe and I'm going to Saudi Arabia and I'm going to Vietnam. That broadens it even more. But even at that little time, you're seeing different folks from different parts of the country and realizing, it's people look at things differently.
Yeah. Yeah. How important do you think it is? You talked about how you value a liberal arts education to get that exposure to all the different disciplines of the academy. What do you think about that travel and how important that is for folks to get out amongst people and to help broaden their view?
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking about that, and one of the classes that I had to take at Methodist that I would not have taken was an art appreciation class. Another class that I had to take was a music appreciation class that I would not have taken had I not had to. Fast forward into the early '80s, I'm in Europe. I know I've told you this story, but I don't know if I've told it here or not. Um, I'm with the army, and I'm in Germany, and I had a day or two off, and I forget what city I go, but I had to go. I'm going around just doing the tourist thing. I wander into a Roman Catholic cathedral, middle of the week, not a whole lot going on, but I'm just enamored with the art, the mosaics, the sculptures, all the art that is in this Roman Catholic cathedral. Now, had I not been exposed to some of this stuff at Methodist, it may not have meant as much to me. But I sat there for probably an hour or longer just looking at this art of the Christian experience. The Moses story, the King David story, all this stuff that I remember, the stories from a childhood in the church, but also from this art that I see, and then how the artist depicts these stories. I am overcome with emotions. I began to weep, and there's not a word said, and I'm convinced that it was the fact that I had this art appreciation class that exposed me to those feelings.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. And man, what a champion of a liberal arts education you have come, and that's a pretty important thing too, I think. Um, well, hey, I kind of want to close there for today. I want to talk more about the community life for y'all around Fayetteville. And then I also want to talk more about that advisor that kind of maybe guided you into the law. So if it's cool with you, I'd like to just break that right here and pick it up next time.
Sure, sure.
All right, Pops. Thanks again, man. Really enjoy this. I love you to death. So I really thank you for this.
Thank you for doing it.
Yes, sir. All right, this is Family Talk, Maxwell 3000 Productions. I am Maxwell 3000. Peace and love.